my computer is 3:47 p.m. I'm here, Cherry Diener, Council President. Next.
Diana Zoli, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Faye Parenti.
Okay. Brad.
Norm Nelson, Vice
Norm
President.
Okay. And we saw from Mr. Brad and Mr. Mayor
Dean Zincan.
Thank you. Okay, everybody's here. We're getting ready to start our agenda meeting for our June 1 council meeting. As of this moment, although once this is all planned out, I'll have Miss Beth contact Neva to see whether or not, we haven't heard anything from the government, although we do have a meeting tomorrow from them, whether or not they'll tell us we can have open meetings. And nor have I heard from the library. They had some type of a meeting. So let's start with the first thing on my list is the Pliget account. And Beth was supposed to put a package together, and Mr. Brad, Miss Faye, and Mr. Nelson all got those pieces. If you guys would like to ask anything or have Beth start, and you guys can put in there what you think, and then we'll have it become a motion that this is what we're gonna do. Ms. Faye?
Oh, I only looked into it and told Beth that I was fine with using Pliget. I really didn't go any deeper than that.
You were just gonna say what to Pliget?
I said I was fine with using the Pliget for like this state aid account and possibly moving money from that mysterious payroll account into a savings account.
Okay.
But I really didn't talk about anything else.
Okay. Mr. Nelson, you have anything to say?
No, I have nothing to say about it. I just think that if we're going to make a little bit more money on it, I would say yes and get that money out of that account that nobody's using. You might as well make the money on it.
That's right. It's free money. Beth, which accounts did you think?
I thought that, let's see, I just sent that letter to who? Faye and Brad and Norm. And let me get to it again. Okay, so I definitely thought that our savings account should go into it, the $167,000 that we have in our capital reserve savings.
Okay.
It's not going to cost us anything. It's just going to give us more interest. And then I thought about using the payroll account that has $12,775 in it as a small checking that we could use for emergency purposes or just have there and earn interest. Or we could also just put that into the savings as well, as Faye had told me earlier today. And the other option I thought that we could think about is maybe moving the bulk of our general fund over to a Pliget account to use as a checking account. The only thing is that I believe we'd have to keep our next tier account just for depositing purposes, and then we would have to put it over into the next tier account, or I'm sorry, into the Pliget account.
How many checks, Beth, how many checks do we currently have from next tier?
I still have about 500 in a box.
Because we'd lose all those, correct?
Yeah, we would lose all of them.
Not necessarily. Oh, if we change all of the checking, you mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if we would have to give them up because we said there were some things we would still have to pay with it. That would not come out of Pliget.
We could use checks out of Pliget as well.
But I'm saying the next tier ones, we still have things to pay that we can use that if we wanted to.
Yes, we could. Yeah, for sure.
And we also said it would save us in postage because a lot of the accounts can be paid online. Not everything, but some of it can. So that would save us postage envelopes, the whole 9 yards when it comes time to those kind of things as well, which every little bit will help, and we're still getting interest.
Beth, do our utilities and vendors take Pliget?
I believe so. The Pliget card would work the same way as a debit or a credit card would. So as long as they take, I believe it's MasterCard, it works the same way as a MasterCard, and we'd be able to do that. Kelly was supposed to send me over a list of all of the participating vendors who do take Pliget cards, and
And what?
that hasn't come to me yet.
Okay. If I remember that it was also a MasterCard, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly. So, but it would take care of just about everything that we have. She said most vendors take it and use it as well.
Right.
But still the little ones, like I'm sure Evans City Auto Parts doesn't, but that's not saying they wouldn't. But at this point, they're not. Okay, no, I also think we have to have an ordinance changing that, correct, Beth?
Yep, we'd have to have an ordinance passed, which they sent me a basic ordinance to go by that we would send over to Neva, and she would put all of our information in it, make sure that it's good for our borough, and then we'd have to advertise it and then submit it to general code to update our codes.
Okay. So is anybody against doing, the majority of our general fund in there as well as the payroll into a savings?
I'm fine with it.
You're fine. Most of our, like I said, our general budget goes into Pliget, and our payroll account, the makeshift payroll account that we have, goes into a savings.
What about the state aid, Beth?
We could do the state aid as well. It's just because we have our project coming up, we won't have very much left over in it. So it's just sort of sitting there right now waiting for us to use it.
We won't be using it all though. When I figured all the numbers out.
Okay.
So when I go through that report, you'll see what numbers, well, actually, I can just tell you right now that if we just go with what's on the list, we'll still have around $24,000 left over.
Okay. That'll be
So
nice.
we
Is that
can carry
including,
I'm sorry?
that including the savings accounts that I told you?
No, this is just liquid fuels.
That's just the liquid fuels checking.
Yes, what would be left in there. We use what's in there, but we'll have that left over, so you could use that unless we decide to do something else with some more roads in town.
Okay.
Or if we're using for piping and stuff like that, because we're going to have to probably. So, but even so, you're still going to have some left over that we can put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you want to deplete it because you still
No.
may have some need for other things.
Exactly.
We have a half a year plus.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not saying to use it all. I'm not saying to use that,
Right.
do that at all.
Right.
Well, but can we not do it at another time and just get this rest of this stuff going, included in the ordinance, but basically just save the state aid and then add it to the Pliget account later on?
You could.
Go into a separate account, but we could do that. The ordinance doesn't necessarily open the account. It makes us members of Pliget.
Okay.
So we're basically then investors.
Okay. But so that might be a more advantageous, because if something comes up, we can still get to it readily, and we're not waiting for it to be transferred and all the bookwork that goes with it.
Right.
We just keep it
Beth,
here.
what kind of timeline are you expecting to open the accounts and transfer?
It won't be very well. Let's see here. If we can pass the ordinance at our meeting on next Monday, then I don't really know how long it takes to start the account up, what all it takes. It might take another month so that we can do all the signatories, on it and set up the account, but at least we're going in the right direction. So it could as early as middle of June. It could be as late as next month.
Tamara could probably answer some of those questions. Yeah.
Probably could. She's very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Brad, do you have anything to say on it?
No, I do not, although, other than I feel that this is probably one of the best options to do, moving the, that mystery payroll account and having the, that savings capital in there just to be able to get more interest on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also think we're not
Go ahead.
talking about closing the next tier account altogether, are we?
No,
No.
no.
Because I was going to advise against that. We probably should keep a local.
Mhm.
I totally agree.
Okay.
But we can put some of the general budget in there as well, just not all of it, like maybe half of it and be done for now. We can always transfer more. But we
Right.
definitely get interest on everything that we put in there if I understood the system when the lady talked about it and when Beth and I've had conversations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll put that on the agenda to get the ordinance ready that will allow us to do it. And as Beth said, it's probably not telling us which accounts it needs to come from. We can decide that, but the fact that we're going to be an investing member, that's more what it's about. So is that everybody's druthers here as far as getting it moving?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Diana?
Yeah, we're just going to have it on the agenda, so it doesn't,
Well,
we don't need to
I know.
vote on it.
Okay. The next thing I have on here is because paving is coming up and we've had the streets measured and everything, and Mr. Nelson will tell us about that. The Wonderooses, and I think it's, oh, I can never remember who lives next door to them. I want to say Marison's. Is that right?
Just the property. They own a piece of property beside it.
Okay, they own a piece of property beside it, but they're flooding. And a lot of it is because the street has started to erode away and the berm and that kind of stuff, that when the men were looking at it, although I have not been out to see it, they're thinking that a piece of culvert pipe going down between those two pieces of property and put it into a catch basin would help to suffice some of the flooding issues that they're having. And do that before we pave, because then we'll have to be running over it to put the culvert pipe in. And that's, futile effort. You get something really nice and then you start damaging it right away. So that's something that we have to do. But Mr. Nelson, in conversation with him, said that I want it in writing so that if something happens with that property, or if we have to do eminent domain to be able to get it in there and keep it as a permanent fix, then we need to get it in writing so that they can't pull it out when they decide to move. Should either one.
Is this Main Street? Where is this?
No, this is out on First Street.
At the top of the hill?
We have First Street going to be paving it,
Oh, okay.
and the property above Wonderoos it's a vacant lot. The people that own it, we had talked to them and had permission, and we actually ran pipe down through their property for temporary service to get the water away from flooding out Wonderoos down over the hill. Now, what we'd have to do is go talk to them again or get a letter drawn up for them to see if they would sign it that we put this pipe in permanently. Then it would have to be buried. Right now, it's only goes so far back, and then it's above ground because it was on private property. That they'd have to sign off on it that we could go ahead, that way we could put the pipe in and it would stay in there.
And have that catch basin thing at the end?
Well, not at the end, it'd be at the beginning.
At the beginning, okay.
That's one way of doing it. Or you could run down, like I talked about before, you run down past Wonderoos, then you have to go down between Wonderoos and the next house, which would be on Wonderoos' property. But the problem we have there is they have all buried electric lines out there, and they're going to the house, and everything could be in the way. And with buried electric, that's tough. That's real tough to work around. But that's the other option if these people won't allow us to go ahead and put a pipe through their property. So we have to
And of
talk to,
course, there's always,
Or-
as you well know, that we can do it through eminent domain if they're going to not be
yeah,
real
but you're
receptive.
talking that's gonna take a long time to do that. You're not gonna get that overnight.
No,
Is
that's
this a
true.
new problem, Norm?
No, the problem's been there for years. The house is lower than the road. The water runs down the ditches and everything, but it floods out Wanderoo's house. It always goes down to his front door because
Mhm.
I mean his house is way below the road, and you know it's been an issue since they built the house there.
Is this going to be something that's fixed eventually with the stormwater management stuff out
Well,
there?
It might to some point because the water's going to run off and well, it's where it runs off. It runs into that little stream down below their house anyhow. So whether it's going to go down that to it or going to go down the road or however, but it's all going to the same stream. So no, that probably wouldn't be covered under the MS4. Only just showing them that this is the work we've been doing for the MS4.
Mhm.
Mhm. And it saves in the long run because we won't have the same type of flooding because we never know what kind of rain we're getting.
Well, that's it. I mean, you can't control all. You get 2-3 inches of rain, you can't control it. Everybody ought to know that by now.
Yeah.
You know, people
So
get
when
flooded.
they built, they really didn't do anything to account for any of that.
No, they did not. Not at all. And that
Well,
was
back
many
then,
years
though.
ago. I mean, his top of his roof is level with the road. So that shows you how much lower the house is than the road.
Wow.
And
Wow.
water runs downhill. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
But that is, way back when, I don't know exactly when the house was built, but those kind of things, we weren't having the kind of rain we're having now either. Nor
well,
do we think building up would be looking like it is and the kind of issues that we're having.
well, I know for years out there, we were out there trying to put some kind of blacktop curbs in to run the water away from so it wouldn't go down there. But big, heavy storms, you just can't control it.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that would control it all either, putting all this in there. If you get a big storm, well, it's going to happen. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but
But-
it's still going to give it some type of relief, not
Well,
maybe
yes,
all.
right. I agree.
Okay.
But when we pave the road, if the storm drains are in and you pave the road, you pave it right, that you can put with the hot paving, they can put a hot paving curb in down
Mhm.
along there, would help protect it from going down his driveway down to his front door. You
Mhm.
could do that, but you just got to be careful you don't send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something we got to look at. I've talked to them. I've been out there and looked at it. Talked to the Mr. Wanderoos. I've talked to Mike and Jack about it, and we had suggestions out there. We met on it, and we can figure it out. That if we can get permission from this landowner to go ahead and be able to bury the pipe through there, or even if we can't bury it, if we can put the catch basin there and run the pipe back so far, then do what we did before. I mean, it's not hurting. It goes through a woods. It's not, that's where the pipe is. Now, our problem is it's a small pipe. You need a bigger pipe. We only put a 6-inch in back there,
Mm-hmm.
and this should be a 12-inch at least.
But you
With the
still
water
need the
runs
catch
off.
basin.
Yeah, you need the catch basin there. Just and that would catch the water actually coming off the road too. Because a lot
Right.
of it goes down in the ditch, but you want to catch the stuff off the road too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just a big project. And before we fix the road and have all the paving there and then go over and destroy it because we have to be digging and doing whatever, if that's the case, we should do it first and then have them do the road.
No, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's why
What-
I'm bringing it up now. As far as the road crew is concerned, I think it should be done, but I also believe that it should be done in writing so that there's no ambiguity about who's going to do what, when, where, and how.
Well,
When it
I
comes
think
time.
what you need in writing is from the property owner where you're going to run the pipe. You're going
Okay.
to go through their property. You just can't. I mean, yeah, it was verbally that they gave us years ago. It
Mhm.
should be on paper and signed.
Yeah.
There's no building on that other property.
No, it's a vacant lot. It's not a big lot. It's a long lot. It's not wide. I mean, it might be 40 or 60 feet at the most, but it's long. It goes way back in. But if you get past Wanderoo's house where he's at, then the water's going to go down toward the creek because it is a big steep bank. You have to go back so far, it goes straight down over the hill, and you can't build a house on that.
Mhm.
So this isn't going to be a problem down the road if somebody does want to build on it.
Well, it just depends where the pipe would go. You know, we'd probably have to meet with the homeowners or landowner again, and go out and see what, you know, talk to them and say, this is how we want to run it. Try to run it where if they wanted to build a house in there, they weren't going to, you know, wouldn't hit the
Mhm.
piping or do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they were nice before, and they lived down by me. I don't know that anything's ever going to be done with that piece of property,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, you can't say for sure.
Exactly.
You never know. Would that be something that Neva also should do, is writing that, asking the property owner to give permission? Would that be
I
a
I
safe
would
choice?
suggest that.
That's what I have down too. Property owner giving permission, and have Neva draw up the request to have it done in writing. And we'll start that avenue, and anything else that she tells us that she thinks we need to have accomplished before we get it paved.
I just don't want to be too, when we write it, get a letter sent to them, be very, very nice about it and everything like that. Because if you're not, they say no, then we're done there. You're not
Mhm.
going to be able to go on the property. We're going to have to go down, take the other route, and deal with the electric and the gas and everything that services is going to this house. Everything going to be in the way.
Okay.
So, you know, I just, you know, I don't want to be too harsh with the people. Just, you know, explain to them. I mean, I don't think the piece of property is worth a lot of money myself, but anymore, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I put down here and I'll tell Beth, be sensitive in the letter to Miss Neva. You know,
Yeah.
very sensitive to get them to agree. All right. Anything else on that? We can move forward and give permission to have Neva draw up a letter asking the owner to give us permission to either bury or put the pipe on top. Any other questions on that or discussion? The truck, we are getting all the paperwork together, as well as the manuals and other things to get ready to put that truck out for bid. But Norm's going to talk about the new trucks that he went up to get a cost on. And he said it might take us at least 6 months to get. So therefore, we need to get the paperwork together, but not put that out into the paper for bids from, you know, other people until probably September or October, when we get closer to seeing how soon that truck will be done. Because if we need it, we're going to need it and not be here with shorthanded.
We're
So-
buying a new truck?
Well, she jumped to it.
Well, no, I said we were putting out that was something that was planned way before me, that a new one was coming in. That's not something that, you know, was brand new to us as being Mr. Nelson and myself. But
I never knew that.
no, I can't help that part.
I knew
can-
there was work, a lot of work, expensive work done on a vehicle, but I didn't know that we were buying one.
Well, now you do. I
Well,
guess.
let me explain.
Okay, I will.
Okay, let me explain things here to y'all, so y'all know what's going on. We talked about this for a long time, and I know when I was on, we talked about it, but nothing was done. Last year, I don't know what council decided to do. Probably, I don't think the way Faye's talking, you just didn't really bring it up. Or if they did,
Well,
you
there
didn't
was there was $20-some hundred worth of work done on a vehicle. And
that's
I know
correct.
that there's a bad vehicle that needs replaced. I just
Yeah.
did not know we were to that point.
Well, what I did was, I needed to get information on trucks, vehicles through the state piggyback. And I needed, when we talked about the 2009 GMC, because it is 11 years old now. And that's the truck that they put, say, 2,400 or whatever it was, you said, something like that in that area into it. But this truck's not going to last another year or two with winter time and everything else. So what I did was, I did have Jack and Mike work up specs on the old truck, everything about it. So if we do this, we're going to have to advertise it to bid it out, have them bid it. When we bid it out, and hopefully somebody will purchase it. But then what I did was, I went to Stevenson's Equipment, who goes to the state piggyback, and got pricing on a new truck And what I got was the price of a new truck. I got the specs of a new truck. I got a 5-year deal or a 4-year deal. I got the rates and the information on how long it would take to get the truck. And it's only an estimate because they don't know for sure because of the virus and the stuff that's going on with what the governor's going to do. But what I got was this brand new truck would be a Dodge 1-ton dump truck. The annual terms, you could go 5-year or 4-year. The 5-year term is $14,964.61. A 4-year term is $18,325.51 versus a bank fee of $500, a UCC fee of $84. The rate would be 4.25. And like I said, the estimate to get the truck would be, the gentleman told me, he says, just the way things are right now, it would probably be 6 months. He said, and when the chassis would come in, he'd have a better idea when we get the truck, but he'd have no idea. That's why he's estimating 6 months for a truck.
Mm.
So 6 months from now, you're talking November, December, or October.
You need
November.
it
I'm sorry?
when you need it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they did put a lot of money in that truck. They had to rebuild
Yeah.
a frame and everything. And right now, well, not right now, but when we go to advertise the truck to put it up for bids, the way the shape the truck's in right now, with everything they've done with it, and the plow goes with it, because the new truck will have a plow and a new salt machine, because this salt machine that's over there on there is very old. And so, and that price is all included in with this truck. But they would sell that with it. And honestly, if you sold that truck right now, you'd probably get 15 grand for it.
Wow.
It's a 1-ton dump truck. That's what we've gotten that before. We never expected to get that kind of money out of these trucks, but we do.
Right.
It's you could say mileage. I think the truck itself, I believe it has like 70,000, 75,000 mile on it, maybe 80. It don't sound like a lot of miles, but it's 11 years old, plowing snow, hauling dirt. You name
Right.
it. It's done.
It worked hard.
You're talking the GMC, Mr. Nelson?
I'm sorry?
You're talking the GMC?
No, the GMC, yes, one we're talking about, correct.
Okay,
The
that's at
2009.
71,000 miles on it.
Okay, that's what's on. Don't sound like a lot, but you can probably triple the mileage because of the backup and all the hauling it's been doing, plus the plowing snow.
Mhm.
And that's why there's been a lot of work put into it. And if we'd have to go for another year with that truck, you're going to put a ton more money into it. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen what they put in it, Faye. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
last year, and I don't want to see
Exactly.
that happen. I don't want to do that again. And I've talked to the people that work on the equipment that works on the Burr trucks, and they told me not to get don't get a Ford. So you can look at GMC, you can look at Dodge. He said it's the Fords, and that's what we have down there now.
Mhm.
That's why they had to replace all the ball joints and everything. And it's not even that. It's a 2005 truck with not a ton of miles on it,
Mhm.
but they don't put grease fittings on them or anything like that. He said you got to go to a different kind of truck. So that's what I did. I mean, the company I go through will have any of those trucks. It's just I asked him to give me pricing for the Dodge, and all the pricing are the same for Ford, Dodge, or GMC.
And that's
Well, it's really reasonable. Yeah, I'm not disputing we need the vehicle. I'm just saying I did not know.
Okay, well, that's why we're bringing them out. We still have time because, like I said, it's 6 months. It's going to be probably a minimum of 6 months before we get the new truck. But I want to bring it up to everybody so they know what's going on. The brand new truck right now is for the truck with a salt machine and a new snowplow on it is $66,860. That's cheap. If you bought that truck for yourself, you'd pay $90. There's no doubt in my mind. And this is through state piggyback, so we don't pay tax or anything like that. So, but that's the deal we can get for this new truck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention.
Right.
Is it a gas or a diesel?
It's a gasoline. We had diesels before. If we had diesel, we'd have to run out to the gas station out 68 to fill it up every time, and
Not
that's
worth
a
it.
headache.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. So that's the only thing we'd have to figure out. Actually, when the truck gets here, we have to have the first payment. Okay, and it's an annual payment too, just once a year. So it's either we wanted to go 4 years or we wanted to go 5 years. So that's a discussion you can look at. There's $4,000 difference, a little less than $4,000 difference between 1 year to the next, 4th year to the 5th year. You can figure it out. It's probably a better deal paying for the 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So when do you have to put bids out on this GMC?
Well, no, that's whenever we decide we want to take it up to put it for sale. We really can't get rid of it right now because we're going to be using it.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly.
So if we know it's going to be 6 months, we can wait 4 months
Right.
to put it up, clean it up, do everything, put it up for advertisement, set it up by scanners is what we do, is what we did before, and set it up there with the for sale sign on it. We got all the information on the truck, everything that's been done with that truck. Beth got it all together and gave it to Mike and them. They have it over there in a book. So if anybody comes and looks at the truck, they can show them exactly what was done with it over the years.
Good.
And have the maintenance. But it's better to be ahead of the game than, trying to pick up the pieces to get something.
Yeah,
flying.
Working here, I've done enough of them to know that you got to do it this way because people ask you a lot of questions. You're buying a used vehicle.
Sure.
I do.
Sure.
So,
Norm, excuse me. Did
Yes.
you say there was a salt machine on it?
there will be a salt machine put on, correct?
Did you check into about a brine machine or anything?
Yes, I did. Waiting for the quotes for that. The gentleman, when I talked to Bill up at Stevenson Equipment, I told him to look into it. He said a tank could go on it and everything. He was trying to get quotes for me, is what he's trying to do. He just didn't get that to me yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't know that that's the best option, but it is an option that we were going to explore as well, because it may save, with just a light snow to go out and brine it and be done, instead of having the guys have to go out and plow and salt and everything else. But that's still tenuous. We're just getting it with those numbers so that we know. All righty, something a little lighter for topic. You guys can keep that in mind and know what we're getting. We'll make sure that you get some more paperwork on it whenever as we get closer and we have more conversation. Total Energy Resources, they have all the numbers. Now we've got them to when our contracts end. We have not had our discussion yet, but that's still out there. He needs to know those things before we move forward. So that one on a light basis is the fact that we've got it starting, but we don't have anything to share with anybody else at this point. You want to talk about street sweeping, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah. I've talked to Joe. I have it scheduled for June 1st, and it's going to be just not say every 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 times a month, not every 2 weeks, because there's sometimes you might do it to be 3 times in a month, and we don't want to do that. We just want to do it twice a month. And then I talked to Cherry about this. We're gonna try to schedule it for every time it's recycling day. Joe's drawing up the papers for Swift Alert. I talked to him, and he's gonna put it out there for Swift Alert before the first sweeping, so people would know that the schedule will be twice a month on such and such days, up to a certain date. And that's for where the signs are located out on the streets about street sweeping signs. It will not go to the whole town because we don't sweep out in the heights. So there's no sense sending a Swift Alert out to those people. We keep it where everything's in town where all the sweeping is. So as soon as Joe brings me that, and I will contact Municipal Services and I have it scheduled for the first month, the right 2 days. For recycling, I just have to reschedule it for July, August, September to get those months that they're on recycling days.
Would that be early morning hours?
Yes, it will be like a Monday morning. I talked to him about that already. I told him like they could start at 2 o'clock in the morning and finish at 6.
Before the garbage.
Before the garbage gets here, correct. Well, the reason we say recycling is it'd be a good reminder for people when they're taking a recycle bin out there and say, oh, I got to move my vehicle because they're going to sweep the streets.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going to do that. While you got me talking, do you want me to finish what I have, Cherry?
Sure.
And then I'll be done with my stuff.
Well, maybe,
I'm sorry?
maybe.
Maybe. What I did, I had PennDOT showed up and went over the streets that we were going to pave this year. And what we decided to do is, I said First Street. Well, First Street goes to Second Street. So we're going to do First Street, Clearview Drive Circle. That's all out of liquid fuel money. And that would be total of $40,277. Now, this number's from PennDOT, and we know that's high, but they always do it high just to be safe because it's always based on fuel prices. So that's for paving First Street, clean over to Second Street, plus Clearview Drive Circle. The other one I have on here would be Center Alley to Park Avenue, which is a very, very, very bad hill. We put a lot of paving in it in the years. It just needs to be done. And that total cost is $24,320 to do that. But the only problem we have with that is we cannot use liquid fuel money on that one. We have to use out of the general fund. And we have written down here papers. I think we had like $65,000 in liquid fuel money. So that would leave us with like $24,000 left in liquid fuel that you could carry over to next year, or you could use partial of it for the storm drains here or wherever, but not all of it.
Yeah. Let me jump in just for a second here.
Sure.
I just want to say, Norm, that at the municipal outreach meeting today, one of the municipal leaders was saying that Liquid Fuels is taking a $90 million hit this year. And so their liquid fuels receipts are going to go down.
For
So
next year.
we're talking, it's a good thing we have stuff to carry over.
Yeah, okay.
I'll talk more
That's
about
good.
it.
I mean, I understand that. Okay, 'cause if they're taking that cut, we're not going to get the money next year like we're getting every year.
Yeah,
That's
so
not
we have to plan, yeah.
Mhm.
So
great.
it's good we're taking some of it out of the general fund.
Well, that would be for that street. So it would leave us with like 24,000 right in that area, maybe a little bit more, but like I said, because the paving prices PennDOT gives us high. So the bids could come in a lot lower. That would be that much more money you'd save in liquid fuel.
Good.
So at least we could carry that over for next year.
Yeah, and we don't
And
know.
we can, well,
Yeah,
I'll talk about it later. We can identify that as a loss.
Sure.
Because of what's going on, so that's
Right.
okay. Good.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
did you have any idea what streets we're looking at for next year?
I have a map and everything for it, but actually right now, no. I have
Okay.
the map all prioritized, but I wanted to get this done right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then that sounds reasonably fair to me as well. The next thing that I have on here, I know that it's really early, but trick or treat's coming up, and with everything else, not knowing what's going to happen or whatever, October 31st is a Saturday. I think that's when trick or treat should be. I don't know what the school's doing, so to have a parade, generally, when Rotary has ran it, it was on a Thursday because the school won't do anything on Fridays and Saturdays. So we had it on a Thursday, which would make it the 29th if we're allowed to do anything with parades. I don't know that yet, but I do. If you guys are ready, I would say that we could put that on the agenda as well as to, with that in mind, the retro part, will give it as Halloween on Saturday, October 31st. And I would do it somewhat between daylight hours and nighttime hours, so you get both sets of kids. The younger kids might come out better in the daylight or almost twilight time, and then the older kids can come out when it's getting darker. But when I still think it probably should be about 2 hours, which is what it's been in the last several years. But is everybody in agreement that we do it now, but make it, according to the COVID policies that are for our state and communities? We'll just make it the 31st and be done?
We can
And
raise
apart-
that at the meeting, yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with the parade. Should we have a parade? It would be dependent on the schools as to whether or not they do it. And then that's done for the end of the year for all of the things that we should do except for Santa. But that takes care of a big one that everybody in town likes to be a part of. Okay, so I've got that done. We'll put that on the thing for a motion. The other one we're coming up with, and Mr. Nelson can also speak on that one, is hiring a third person for the streets committee to get some of this work done. We are definitely overwhelmed with digging ditches and things like that. The guys are spending a lot of time. Today, they finished the pipe up by Mr. Long's property and mine, and Porter Alley, right up in that corner. They finished that. But there's an awful lot of digging, and two people are getting pretty whooped, and they're not making a whole lot of headway because it takes them that long to get rid of it. So I think it's time that we look into hiring a third person. Anything you'd like to say, Mr. Nelson?
Well, yeah, I would like to say that, yes, I believe we need a third person. I mean, I know I'm the vice president of council, even on council, doesn't matter. That I'm doing a lot of running around here by going and getting bids on trucks, doing the street sweeping, doing stuff like that. And I know this is my job to do because I'm on council. But when I was working here as a borough employee, that's what I did. And we need somebody in the office that can go in there and do the stuff, do the paperwork, show up for our meetings, do this stuff that I'm doing right now to help them, because these guys can't, if they're out running around trying to get this stuff done, they're not getting anything else done. And with all the storm drainage that we got to do for the First Street one up here at on Stewart Alley up at the top, all that, the catch spaces I got to put in. And if we're going to be down there with them, down at the sewer plant with that piping and the catch basins, I don't know what's up with that yet, but they haven't got back to me. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and not going to get it all done. Plus with all the grass mowing, cutting grass and everything. So I believe that we should hire a third person, and it should be a third person that more or less did what I did. We can't afford to hire a manager, but we might be able to afford to hire somebody what I did here at the borough, and they'd still be out there an employee as working with the employees, not just in the office. That's my opinion on it.
So are you talking part-time?
No, ma'am. I was talking full-time.
Wow.
Any other discussion? Okay.
How are you going to pay this person?
Well, that's something we're gonna have to figure out.
Yeah. Financial committee can look into that. I would say that it should be commensurate to experience, but we can go as low as what you started Mike at and figure out how high we could go depending on their experience and what they can bring to the table.
So they're going to physically work with our two current employees as a
Plus-
laborer and do administrative work as well?
That is correct. That's what I did, the same thing.
How is there so much more work now that we need a third person, Norm?
Because we needed a third person a long time ago. Even when I was there with just Jack, we complained so many times to Mr. Dyer, and nobody would listen to us. And he'd always come back. You needed 2.4 men to run this town. 2.4. Well, I retire, and then you only have one man here. You walk around town. You see the stuff that needs to be done. It's not going to get done with two employees. It's not going to happen. You're not going to ever get caught up. There's always a lot of work in this town that has to be done. So
I do walk around town, and what I see we need to also is a code enforcement officer.
I agree with that 1,000,000%.
Mhm.
But and we have one as far as Kevin, but I don't know what he's doing right now because of this virus and stuff. I have no idea. I don't know.
Would the new person be able to also be a code enforcer? Do you think he'd be able to work on the road crew but still enforce our code?
That's a very possibility.
Makes a good common sense approach as it too. Again, that would be administrative at that point, and they could go through and do it because they see it every day.
Mhm.
That's a very good idea. You could put that in there. Yes.
I mean, it may cost us a little bit more because of those kind of constraints, but at the same time, if we're getting more bang for our buck, that makes, a whole lot of sense. That's a good idea of putting them together. All right. Any other discussion on hiring a third person? Will you, in the fiscal department, Ms. Fay, will you check out and tell me what, the max we can put out for as well as the minimum?
Beth, can I come down to the office tomorrow?
I
Oh,
won't be
tomorrow's
here
Friday,
tomorrow.
you're not
Yep.
there. Monday.
Monday's holiday.
Monday's a holiday.
Oh.
Is there
Tuesday.
something that you
How about
need that we can
Tuesday? Would
pull?
Tuesday work for you?
Yeah.
What kind of
Okay.
stuff do you need?
Well, I want to look at the budget.
Okay. Well, she could also email that to you, maybe even today, because it should be on record. Is correct, Beth?
Yep, everything's on the computer.
Well,
Well,
can you send it
The
before you leave?
report you pulled for the last meeting was difficult for me to read because there's no lines on it.
Oh yeah,
Can
that
we-
one is really
can-
annoying.
Can we pull a different report?
I can put it into an Excel format, and then it would have lines across.
Okay.
I could simplify it too, so that you aren't looking at a whole bunch of minuscule little line items. They're all put together. Does that make sense?
I'd like to see the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
So that'll take care. You can look at it at your leisure over the weekend then, Ms. Fay, and you don't have to like jumble it real close together. But if she sends it to you that way, that sounds good. All right. Anything else? Then is everybody somewhat in agreement that we take that as a motion to hire a third person for the June 1st meeting? And get the
I
action?
am not in agreement.
Well, okay.
I think we need to have somebody assess what we do compared to what we have and what we need.
Okay. Example?
Somebody like feasibility study, perhaps, like something on that order.
Yeah, but if we're going to pay somebody to do a feasibility study, that's money going away from where we could pay somebody to come in and start working.
Exactly, but that's what we had to do before we did all the pool stuff. There was a $20,000 feasibility study that had to be done so you know what you need.
What's state mandatory? Feasibility study for the pool.
Yeah, but I'm just saying as a reference.
Oh, and there's a reason for that, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
If the state's going to be giving you money, yes, there's the right to do that.
Right. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying as an example, like somebody to say, this is what you do in this town and this is what you need. Do you need 2.4? Do you need 3.4?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I need
Isn't it based on population?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
That's what I heard.
Well, that I don't know either. I don't know about
I
that.
don't.
Well, we can look at some of the things that we see that needs to be done and taken care of and make the list and how long it takes them to do some of those projects. And it will, get you and where we're out when, there's only two and they could be running 2 trucks to do something. Now they're only being able to run 1 because there's only 2 of them there, where if they had 3, they could run 2 trucks constantly, kind of like thing if they were digging out and moving stuff. So, but we can work on that, Mr. Nelson. and come up with something for that. But I still think, you know, I don't want to waste a whole lot of time, even if we make the motion for June and we don't get around to it to July, that's fine. But if we get it done sooner, then we can also put that out as something that's a go.
Mhm.
You know, kind of like
I
thing.
think if we need somebody as a borough manager. We need somebody to set what needs to be done and how it's done and when it's done and oversees how it's done.
Oh, then you can also give me those kind of answers too, Miss Fay, when you're looking at the budget as, you know, what it would cost for a borough manager that would be able to fill in and do all of those things, and look at it as also being an employee when needed. You know, that might be an option too. I've always said that we needed a borough manager here for many, many years. That's how I got involved in council in the first place. And, you know, we were looking at kids at the college level that were coming out that needed internships and have them work and do that. And, you know, it never came to pass, but more and more it's getting structured so tightly from every angle that we need somebody that oversees it, that again is not a lay person that spends a lot of time relearning the whole
Okay.
process.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, okay.
so we can move forward on that as well. So you can get us those figures, and if you get them done before the June 1st meeting, great. If not, then we can have the discussion. But I think that we need to seriously contemplate with the ad and everything else, which would be a human resource kind of thing too, to come up with what we think we need in somebody and try and write out the ad. Okay?
Yep.
So I think that we'll move it and get it a motion to hire and discussion at that point, and we'll have all the paperwork from Miss Fay when she gets done looking at the budget kind of things as to what it can propose.
Well, I need to look at the budget with Beth. I don't need to look at the budget solely by myself. I have not looked at this budget since Beth's been in that chair. I have not been in the office. I would like to look at the budget with Beth as well.
Oh, then you can set up an appointment when it's convenient with Beth to get in there to be able to look at it together.
Right,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
Beth, right?
Beth,
Beth is muted.
Sorry,
Okay.
yes, Tuesday's
Okay.
good.
All
Sorry, my
righty,
typing
thank
is
you.
loud, so I didn't want to, I keep muting myself so that my typing doesn't bother you guys.
Okay,
so you'll set up an appointment with Miss Fay as to when it's convenient for you
Yes.
with all the other stuff you're doing. Okay, sounds good. Let me see. While we're on the subject of money and people and whatever, I think it's time that we go back and we discuss the issue with Mike Wonderoos. This poor young man has been led to believe that he was supposed to be getting a raise after his $1 or so raise after he did his 3 months, if everything was satisfactory. That has not happened. He's missed at least, I think his 9 months would have been over in February. So he has March, April, May, and we're going to be starting June. And he needs to have retro pay for those hours that he's getting. I was not privy to that conversation because he was not hired under our tenure, but he said that it was told to him that that was going to happen, and it hasn't. So I guess I will turn it to Miss Diana, since you were on the past council and would have been there when Mike was there, and you, Miss Fay, as well.
I didn't have anything to do with hiring and the
Well, you
ins
might
and
not
outs
have
of
if you
that.
had been there for the
I was there when he was hired, but I had no discussions with him about anything, or I
I
wasn't
didn't
privy.
either.
So I don't know.
I didn't
Well-
either. I did not sit in on those discussions.
Then what do you guys?
And I
think
never
we
heard
do?
of any talk of an amount.
Like I said, This is what I was told, but it was prior to my coming on council. And therefore, we've got to research, or we just move forward and say he's done an excellent job and he needs to be remunerated back to those months and weeks that he has been not paid the extra pay that he was said that he was going to be getting once he put in his 3 months and it was satisfactory.
Well, what does he say he was told?
I didn't ask him how much he was supposed to be making. I just,
Well, you
said
mentioned $1 something.
well, that's just because I mentioned it. That's, is that, I don't even know what he makes it currently. I think it's like $18, $19.
I believe he was hired at something like $19.50,
Okay.
which was well above the $15 because he knew the equipment already, was familiar with the town. And, I think that's a really great wage.
Right, but if you would have been hired in at $15, that's a low wage for that type of job.
Right, but that's what was in the contract that didn't exist. That exists.
Well, I can go back and see what new hires would get in the contract. And then we can go-
$15. I can tell you what it is.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at what a raise would be for someone, the percentage raise that they would get had they completed their 90 days, and see what we can find out from that aspect. But we still need to pay the young man. If he was told he was going to get a raise, he needs and deserves to have his raise.
Well,
After 3
I'll
months.
ask Lee what he told him because I don't know.
Well, you'd be glad to do that and have Mr. Dyer call me with his answer so
Okay.
that, we will figure that part out.
Okay,
And I will get some more information off of Mike as well.
right.
The only other thing that I have on here on my page is this is for you, Miss Diana. I know you don't do Facebook, but I weirdly came across this Breakneck Creek Project Facebook page that I thought you might be interested in, and I wanted to share. I don't have the exact name here. I will hunt it back up again, and so that I get it exactly for you, but I thought you might be interested because they talked about cleaning Breakneck Creek and how it, goes all the way north and south. But I just thought it was an interesting Facebook page that you might be interested in because the Breakneck Creek comes through here and all the things that goes with it.
Well, the Allegheny Alliance does that kind of cleaning up, and that's always part of it. But yeah, so you can send it to me. I don't do Facebook, but I'll check it in other ways. Okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, is that your last thing then?
I have one more from next year, which was the mayor, if the mayor wants to talk about it. And then we're done.
I have a couple of I have a number of things that I
Yeah,
wanted
okay.
to.
I don't mean it like that. I'm meaning.
You don't mean we're done?
No, not that. I mean, I will be done at that point. But the mayor got a paper on the relocation of the 2 Evans City veteran monuments from Edco Park and put them down here in the center of town. Mayor, would you like to say anything else about it?
I think everybody got their email on it, and I think it's self-explanatory. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than willing to try to answer them. I think Neva
It
needs
says-
to.
I have a question. Next year says that Evans City would be responsible for moving it and for insuring it, right?
For moving it and what?
And insuring it.
Yep.
Do we have a commitment letter from Pat Boylan that says?
No, he
he's
just
will-
told me personally as a good friend that he would do that for me,
Could
but I
we
can
have
get
it
it in writing.
could you do that just for the
Sure.
taxpayers' protection?
Correct.
So we know that that's the agreement, so everyone knows.
Yes.
I'll check with Howard to see how much the insurance would be on that. how much the insurance would change,
Okay.
the movement and the placement.
Okay.
Alrighty. Anybody else have any questions for the mayor? I think it'll be nice having them all located centrally. I think that will be very nice. And we can take better care of them than being up in what looks to be the graveyard from The Sound of Music up there is what that reminds me of. When you go up there, like when the family was sitting in between all the graves and stuff and being hunted is what that little monument thing makes me think of.
Is it
Also-
going to go where the Christmas tree typically goes?
Yes,
Is that the spot? Okay.
yes. And the
There's another
flagpole-
monument there now, and there's a larger one at the park, which will be the main one focused in the center with two smaller ones on the side.
Yeah. And the fact that the Christmas tree will be there, the flag's there, and the lights are there.
Okay. Can I just go through this so that we can just wrap it up? As I said, I was at the municipal outreach meeting today, and the mail-in ballots should all be out very soon. They thought they were caught up, and they got 1,800 online yesterday and 1,800 snail mail requests. So, but they said the training went well. They have sanitizers, PPEs, tape, all the things that they need to set up the polling places. They're suggesting that we have a constable on site to organize the crowd. I'm not sure whether that is something we want to do, but that was a suggestion that the commissioners had.
I don't think we've ever had a big enough crowd.
I don't think we have either, but I mean, this has restrictions on it, so I don't know what they're saying.
Right.
But I think they're really talking about the larger municipalities. There will be 12 rovers who will address any problems, supplies, issues, whatever. The phone numbers will be with the judge of elections at each polling site, so we can call them if we need anything. They'll bring bags for all the equipment that's needed. They recognized that we had changed our polling place. Next, the census, the initial meeting or initial push to get people to do their census or turn their census in is between June and July. The follow-ups between July and September. There's a 60% response rate in Pennsylvania. There's a 50% nationally. Butler County, of course, overachievers, 70%. We're pulled down by Montauk and Karnes City. They're only at 45. So all of those kinds of things having to do with the census are problematic, and we're trying to get people to respond. Property taxes, the extension at face value until November. Beth just emailed our resolution today, right? So they have it. They
Yes.
needed it at the county, and I don't think we knew that. So you did?
I did. Yep. She received it, and that's all. She just said that she received it. Yep.
Okay. So this is the important part, I think, of the meeting. The CARES Act is important to us because it's the allocation of funds for COVID-related problems, losses, and costs. So what they're saying is they're doing testing and training. They have the supplies that they need. They're working to now do tests, and she didn't mention tracing, but she did mention tests. So they're going to make tests more readily available to people in the county. Evans City's losses in this, and this is just off the top of my head. Evans City's losses that are COVID related will be liquid fuels tax. There will be a decrease in income tax. We need to check with Berkheimer to see what that means, how much it is. The Park Authority will have possible loss of revenue given whenever we can open, whenever we go green. may miss if there's a spike and we're then sent back into lockdown, into stay at home. They would lose money from programs, fees, fundraisers. All of that is lost. I'm losing my voice.
The library?
The library, loss of programs, yeah.
Okay.
Loss of program funds. The volunteer fire department, loss of income because they're not doing fundraisers, because all of this affects contributions to them. So there's no threshold for COVID-related losses. We don't have to meet a threshold and then we get money. And besides that, what's going on with my throat? Besides that, it's a county thing. The county will get the money and then just dispense the money. Yeah. So distribute the money. So as for costs now, that's losses. As for costs, most of that is FEMA disaster stuff. And so we would need to meet a threshold for costs. So we'll see how that works. Mark is going to have a meeting on July 5th, and the county will be sending us as soon as possible a form to fill out to indicate how much of a loss we've experienced. So the governor is negotiating with the legislature to determine how the funds will be distributed. There are federal strings, there are state strings, and we need to watch that. So we need to keep track of all of those things. We're probably not going to get 100% reimbursement for our losses, but we will get some. Additional losses that I considered were Oktoberfest, the car show, Night of the Living Dead, that kind of thing. The money that brings into the municipality. There is finally, for this piece, the municipal thing, there's a virtual job fair every 2 weeks, and the next one is June 4th. So I'm going to get that link from the county. I didn't get it while I was on the meeting with them, but if we want to put that on the website,
Absolutely.
the municipal website. So, and they're very pleased about the way these municipal meetings are going, so they want to continue them into the future, even after we all get better. Okay. I was also on the video meeting for the SPC last night, the Southwest Pennsylvania Commission. And there were a number of things that they brought up at that meeting that are really kind of good things for us if we are intending to move forward with this infrastructure, economic development, and downtown revitalization, because the Office of Economic Development at Butler County suggested to me a transit stop here in Evans City on the way to the Park and Ride and then to Cranberry, so that the people who live, especially it could be at President Square, because it would be most convenient for them. They're asking, they want to ask PennDOT to add a bike lane to the paving project that they're doing on 68, so that we could have a bike lane between here and Zeunople, Harmony, places like that. And also, if we're doing downtown revitalization and economic development here, it would be nice to be, for people to be able to do that back and forth thing. We can also, I think, Norm, you might know something about this. I called Ed because he's the one that mentioned it to me. Don't we have the right of way for the Old Harmony Short Line?
The Old Harmony.
Don't we still have the right of way? Huh?
Where was the Old Harmony Short Line?
Well, it came in from Forward Township. You know where those old bridges are up in Forward Township? Coming down this way and then down through.
Oh, okay. I know where you're talking. Okay, that's down here behind Margaret Avenue then.
Like Glen, yeah. like down from Glade Run, down Ash Stop, behind Ash Stop.
Right. The only thing I'd say for Evans City is probably the only ones that have the right of way would be the sewer line projects. The
Well,
sewer
I
runs
need
up
to
there.
talk, okay, because whenever I was sitting in on that meeting last night, everybody was so excited about these multimodal forms of transportation. And they were saying these bike paths and bike trails are really such a great idea. And I think they're right. I think that we
Well, yeah, that went
can,
the whole way to Pittsburgh.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
went the whole way to Pittsburgh, but I know that even out by the dairy where the right of way is, where it's going through there, that the only reason we had the right of way for it was because we had a water line through there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's, yeah,
But
that's great.
I don't know if Evans City has anything itself.
Well, we'll see, because I need to talk to Ed about it again. Okay, the infrastructure is a primary focus this year. I mean, they have a 4-year TIP program, and infrastructure seemed to be big, stormwater management. They're concerned about congestion and flow of traffic, and we might need to address that when we're doing the things that we're doing. You already talked about reminding citizens about mowing and all that kind of thing. Beth may have mentioned that the filing system has been completed. We have all the stuff we need. She is now doing all the actual work that I said I would do when we started this, but now I can't go near her. So I told her I would come in when she's gone, when she's gone in the evening, and spray everything before I leave. But we'll see how that works out. So Beth's doing that. Thank you very much, Beth. And I think we need to approve the $1,000 for the company.
I think I already just paid it.
You just paid it?
I did. I just paid it.
We must have approved it before then, right? Yes,
We did.
approved
We
it
had
before.
We
approved it
did.
beforehand. That's
Okay.
why I didn't have a problem paying it.
Okay, and she just wanted. Now, the last thing that I have, and I think this is the most important thing, is that HRG has offered to provide a proposal for a zoning ordinance audit. Now, an example of what they'll offer that we're not equipped to do here is an understanding of the changing nature of, for God's sake, gas stations. It's like you need to zone for particular possibilities. And we think of gas stations as places where you go in, you get gas, you maybe get some windshield washer or some oil, whatever. But they're talking about gas stations that look like, that can look like department stores. It's just, but it's not. It's that kind of thing. We don't know what's possible. We don't know what might be. And so there's no way for our planning commission to stay current on all the possibilities that may arise. But since HRG does this kind of thing for a lot of municipalities in Butler County and outside of Butler County, they are expert at this sort of thing. And so if we're planning to begin this process, if we're planning to do infrastructure and economic revitalization, economic development and revitalization, we really need to begin with a solid set of zoning and ordinance laws, rules, whatever, guidelines. And so my suggestion is that at our meeting, we approve having them just give us this proposal. That's all that's all they're saying. We're proposing these possible changes, and then once we look at those changes and approve them, then they would do the work of actually making the changes. And so there's no cost, there's no downside to just looking at the proposal.
Right. I think that'd be good. I think it would be good if they could send us a proposal on it. Absolutely.
Well, do you think, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if they send us a proposal, we can look at it and see what we think at the next meeting?
Absolutely,
I don't
absolutely.
see why not.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Makes
And then
sense.
that way we'll have a sense of, you know, what our boundaries are. Because if we, you know, if we don't, God help us, if we don't get the school back and we're not able to sell it to, or to have someone develop it in a way that we want them to, then we are at the Seneca Valley School District's mercy. And it doesn't appear to me that they're very concerned about us because, you know, as I said to them, Seneca Valley School District comprises 60,810 acres, and we're 525 acres. And their interest is in 15 of those acres and some buildings. They don't need, it would not be a hardship for them to give it back to us.
Right.
And so that's, you know, and we need to have the protection of having ordinances and zoning established to limit to what we want to see there.
Do you know if that's considered R1 over there by the school?
I don't know.
Institutional. The school's institutional. Mr.
Okay,
Nelson. The school's considered institutional.
that's probably just that lot then, because I know that Patterson Street's just residential.
Mm-hmm.
That side of the town is residential. The other one is.
But Smith's
R2.
Lumber is right across the street.
What is?
Yes, and that
Smith
over there is,
and Beam is right across the street.
and that's considered R2 or
Yes.
industrial.
No,
Yes.
it's R2.
Where you live and where I live, we're in R2.
Yeah.
We're residential.
I
commercial.
know, and that's why I'm putting up my fence. It makes it real cool. I don't have to look at everybody's stuff.
But it is over there on the railroad side of the street is considered R2. Is that what you said you are, Mr. Nelson? And it's an overlay. That means that it can be residential and then somebody could put a house type business in and then the next person that buys the house can make it residential again.
That
It can
is
flip-flop
correct.
each direction
That
is
is
what
correct.
that side is because that's where most of the commercial
Do you know,
aspect was.
one of the suggestions in our comprehensive plan, what's his name, Capella Road?
Yeah.
Terry Capella,
Eric Pella, yes.
is to put a bridge across Breakneck
Yeah.
behind the park over to the VFW, whatever,
Yep.
that field.
I remember that being in that, him
No,
talking
so
about
do
it.
I.
Yeah.
I do
And
remember all that.
and I really want to, I called the DEP and I called the Conservancy District to have them go down and talk to what's his name, Graff,
Mhm.
and they did. And he said he's not putting up a building, but they asked him to pull back 8 to 12 feet from the creek because he was putting stuff down there. But I don't think our biggest problem is him encroaching on the creek at this point. I think our biggest problem is it looks like a pigsty.
Well, that's it too. I don't know how he could go even that close to the creek because behind it, that property, a gentleman from Pittsburgh owns.
Yeah.
You know, unless at the last council meeting we had, when Neva brought up about something about Pierce Alley, property on Pierce Alley. I think that's what she was talking about. There's no houses or anything on it, but I think that's the property she's talking about. So it might be going up for sheriff's sale. Maybe it did already. I don't know. I haven't seen
Well, there's a
anything
lot of
about it.
stuff down along the creek.
Oh,
you know,
yes. Oh, I
if we
know.
could buy people at, I mean, at some point when we're rich and all that, if we could buy people out, you know, and move and just destroy those buildings back in there.
It would probably help. It would help to some extent. I mean, you know yourself with 4 or 5 inches of rain, we're going to be flooded here again. Same as we were before. 1 and 2 inches, we should be able to control, but we don't in places. For some reason, we
But
don't.
if we do the trouble spots, and Forward Township is now part of the municipal.
Yes.
Did you know that? How'd you know?
Oh, it was talked about a month ago.
Yeah, I read it.
They were talking about it, but they didn't do it.
I thought
They
did it.
didn't do it until just a it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I thought they already did. That's when we were talking about it before. I thought they already did it.
They were, no,
That's good.
I thought they had too, but then I talked to Mark and he said no. He
Oh,
said, no, they
okay.
hadn't done it, but now they have.
They have.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
So if we get all these trouble spots cleared up, we
That
might
will help.
mitigate the flooding even more if we
Yes.
could buy out these people down along the creek, right there along the creek. It might help even more too, because it allows the creek to open out onto
Oh, sure. Exactly.
unused area. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that's what hurt us when they built up in Mars, going to Mars, Adams Township. They built all that stuff, put a dike in. That hurt us. Callery just filled up over there beside the creek. They put it up, 10 feet? That big property, you know? How can you get away with that? I don't know. I don't know how they got away with it.
I don't either, but Pico said he was really upset because now he has to jump through hoops to remedy it.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's me. That's all I've got.
Okay.
I have one more thing, Sherry, about the park and the pool.
Okay.
We've had some unknown expense happen over the week because of the water break.
Yes.
And our accounts are, Brad, you can help me out. You were at the meeting, are very limited.
Yes, they
And
are.
we wanted to know if possible, Brad, or, council, that the borough can release that $5,000, right, Brad? To help pay for some of the expense to help us manage the pool better and operate.
Doesn't your foundation have money?
Brad, I'm not sure.
I think what you're talking about is the maintenance, startup
You just-
maintenance
yeah.
fee that was in
Doesn't
an
the town
agreement.
give, or doesn't the borough give $5,000 towards the park?
It is, and
We
it's
just wondered
done.
if that money could be released. Is there
that's
a
the
date on
thing.
that money? To
It's
be
already
released
gone,
when?
Mayor. It's
Pardon
taken
me?
care of.
Okay.
They got it yesterday.
Excuse me.
What's
Thank you.
gone yesterday?
The $5,000 that they're supposed to get on an annual basis for startup and early maintenance to the pool.
Well, wait a
And-
second though, because we hadn't been paying that because they owe the borough
I
$25,000.
know, and at the end of the year, they pay us 10. But it is in an
Oh.
agreement that they had.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
All right.
Yes, there's an agreement.
I didn't know that.
I can ask Beth to give you the exact title of it, but
Okay.
they are supposed to get $5,000, and it's in there, and it goes to 2022 if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah.
so we were well within our rights to sign the check over to them to help ensure that they've got some money in their coffers to fix the water breaks and the other
Sure.
things that happened there.
No, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. I was just wondering how we changed what I thought was the agreement.
Well, it is part of, I think I haven't read the entire agreement. I got down to the point where they're supposed to be able to, look at us for this kind of money to start up costs, so to speak. And I just, told Beth, and we found it, we looked at it, and we went forward and got it to them because it was approved through the council. And then they do have to pay us so much back each year. We may have to look at that depending on the revenues and those things. Cindy has an excellent plan ready for us that she's going to look at sessions at the pool, if I'm not mistaken. And Brad, if you know more, please chime in. But she's looking at sessions. They're bringing the daily cost down from 7 to 5. They're giving 3-hour sessions to a group of so many, and then they'll go and sterilize. The only thing that I'm still investigating is whether or not there's a food truck, because apparently you're not allowed to sell any food that's not prepackaged.
Correct.
And therefore, a food truck came and asked if they would be allowed to be in the parking lot the hours that the pool was open. And I said, I don't know if they need a permit. I've got to check that out, I don't think it's soliciting because they're not going door to door, but there may be a permit that we have to get to allow them to sit in the parking lot. I don't know
Yeah.
that.
Did you guys meet personally last Monday? Pardon?
Monday.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked Cindy to call me so that I could hear, and she didn't call. But,
She forgot her phone. She didn't have a phone that day.
Okay.
We had a
What she
meeting.
said.
Pardon? You had what did you say, Brad?
We had a meeting Monday, and it discussed about, we talked and I wish I had the paper, and you guys are gonna laugh, but seriously, a dog ate my paperwork.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Brad.
Good excuse, Brad.
Our dining room table was a wreck, and I had stuff sitting on there, and it got destroyed. But husband and wife team approached us to see about setting up a food truck, and I do not believe it was just during when the pool's open, because we don't even know, we can't open, not so much we, but the pool's not open until the governor releases us into the green phase.
That's
But
correct.
Yeah.
we have to prepare the pool per the to have the coating and everything be okay. So the pool's going to have to be running and operational no matter what for everything to be okay. And Butler County's slating on July 1st opening their like Alameda pool. So I think that's what we're kind of looking at towards
Okay.
the July
That's
1st
it.
start date. And they are looking at like Jerry said about sessions, dropping the price down to $5 per session because they can't have the pool open constantly. There has to be a shutdown time where they clean. So in between those times, there's going to be like what they consider a session, and it's $5 a person for that session. And they're also looking at ways how they're talking about diving, having a diving class there. The people still said they were interested in the mornings, and they said that they'd be able to provide people that would want to do scuba. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, when I talked today about the pool, I said that we're going to spend an excess of 20,000 just to treat the pool and take care of it, and that we would lose a lot of income. But if you're going to open in July, then we might not be able to make that argument. So we'll see how much we can indicate is a loss, because especially if you're going to do programs and
yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
A bunch of money, because that's like stuff before the pool opens, and you still can only have so many people in the pool at a time, which I don't think is going to be a problem anyway.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of other stuff they gotta do.
Right. There are a lot of considerations. That one of the considerations is, are you going to get enough? Well, it's going to be a dead loss if you don't get people to come anyway. So I guess there's no, that's not a calculation.
I think that will also depend on how hot the summer gets.
Yeah.
That will also increase some of that revenue. If it's piping hot like it was last summer for a couple of days or a week, then they got a lot more people. But they'll still have to do it by sessions, I'm sure, to be able to do the cleaning and the things that are necessary.
And the distancing, we have to be sure we keep people so far apart, and you're only allowed, what did they say, Dean, 75 at a time in the pool? And
Yes.
like the pool's going to be broken into like sections, like the deep end, the shallower end where the zero entry isn't, and in the zero entry area.
It's 75? I think that's high.
Well, that's what
That's what the county says. With the size, they measured it and everything, and that comes from the county, from Parks and Rec.
That's interesting, because I would have said that was high too.
yeah,
I
but
really would have.
we
But
may
that's
go
right.
to
They
75
measured.
All the county.
Okay. Well, then have we covered everything we're going to cover?
Yeah, so that we have to look into that to see what the food truck would have to be under, if anything. So I'm putting my feelers out to find that information. So is there anything else that needs to be discussed? Yes, no, maybe? Then I have the Pliget account and the property owner on First Street next to them is something for Neva to do and get ready, the ordinances and whatever. We're going to send out the information to make sure everybody gets a copy of it on the new Dodge 1-ton, just the ideas of it. We're going to keep the 24,000. We're going to have a motion to hire and have some more discussion on it. And I've got the list of other things and the motion that we make Halloween on the 30th.
31st.
And also the motion to approve the proposal
For
by
HRG.
HRG.
Yes, I got that. I was on the other side of the paper though. So yes, we need a motion for this. All right. Anything else? Oh, Mayor, do we need a motion for you and your, I don't know where I put it, the thing for the monuments?
I have to get a letter from Mr. Boylan first.
Yeah,
It seems
do
like,
we want to make a motion that the borough accepts the moving of doing that, just so that it's on the books?
with the letter of
Contingent
intent
upon the
from Pat
commitment.
Boylan, saying that he will do that for us.
Yes. That, we'll make it contingent on, what did you say, Miss Diana?
Just contingent upon a commitment letter from him, and I'll let
That's
us,
what I
I'll
just
just
said.
let us,
Yes. Go ahead.
I will just let us know what Howard says about the change in insurance, how much it will cost to
Okay.
insure it and that kind of thing.
Okay, then we'll move that to monument moving. Okay. Nothing else that you can think of, Mr. Nelson?
Nope, you covered everything.
All right, Mayor?
Nothing?
Okay, Miss Fay?
No,
Mr. Brad?
No, I just got some paperwork I'll be bringing everybody at the meeting about with the review.
Okay,
Paper I've been-
and Miss Diana? No more?
That's it.
Okay, then we're done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you June 1. I'm assuming we're going to be online. I don't think she's going to change that for June 1.
I don't think either.
Okay, so we'll be doing another one of these. Thank you very much. Mr. Rubinovsky, will you give a call to Norm?
Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.